when they're taken into custody after they've been arrested. One group who make it their business to know are the volunteers from the Sussex Independent Custody Visiting Scheme. There are around 50 members. They visit people who are being detained to make sure their legal rights are being upheld and that they are okay. Well, the team has been nominated for the King's Voluntary Award for implementing national improvements to the treatment of detainees in custody. Tell us more. I'm joined by two volunteers at the Sussex Independent Custody Visiting Scheme. They are Neil Hart and Susan Middleton. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us on the programme today.
Good morning.
Oh, good afternoon.
Now, first of all, we're still just about in the morning. I know it's that time of day, isn't it? First of all, congratulations. I mean, recognised by this King's Voluntary Award, a hugely prestigious award. Let's start off with you, Susan, and tell us, because you must deal with some very vulnerable people.
I would say that everybody in custody is vulnerable, whether they are there for the first time or whether they've been there for a few times. It's quite a scary place to be. You're being locked up and shut away, and you don't have anybody, you don't know what your rights are or what's going to happen to you. So yes, everybody is vulnerable, but actually when we speak to people, they're generally really, really nice, and they really want to tell you about how grateful they are that perhaps we've been able to offer them anything from a toothbrush, if you've been in overnight, toothbrush, a shower, something to read, something to do. So, yeah, everybody's vulnerable, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, Neil.
Absolutely. If you're in custody, something's gone wrong. Some people deal with it very well. Other people are scared, aggressive, going through some sort of mental crisis, suicidal. You're never quite sure who you're going to be visiting and what their needs are. And our task is just to make sure that they are being looked after. And I have to say, generally, they are very, very well looked after by Sussex Police. We're just there to make sure that is the case.
Now, I didn't even know that there was such a service that you could do. I didn't know. How did you get involved? Let's start off with you, Neil. How did you get involved in this?
Well, I had the great pleasure of doing some work with the police a few years ago, and I became aware of this scheme. So when I retired, and as everybody says, you've got nothing to do when you retire. Well, that's complete rubbish. But I thought, well, this is something I can do. It will be interesting, but more important than that, it is representing the public to help and to check up on detainees who are in custody. It also helps the police themselves, because they can say that there are independent people who come in to see what they're doing. So that's how I got into it, and I'm sure it's a very similar story for most of the volunteers.
And in terms, Susan, you were talking about the huge expertise that you must have in order to ensure that people know their rights, what's available. I assume there's a lot of training for this.
We do. We get a lot of training, both in-house, face-to-face, online, and we always work in twos. So we have the opportunity to share our expertise as we go along. But yes, I would say it's something that you need to think about quite carefully, because it's not just your visits. It's also training, looking up things. We have an overriding body, which is called ICVA, and they have lots of online presence and lots of stuff that we can pick up. And you need to have some skills and expertise to go in to feel that you're able to provide a service. And I have to say that the police are always very, very welcoming and very pleased to see us.
And in terms of, you're obviously people now that have got a lot of expertise. You've done this a lot, but the first visit that you make, that must be quite a rite of passage.
It is. And the way that our training works, the very first visit is just a tour. So we are taken round by a sergeant, liaison sergeant, and the coordinator, and we have a look at what happens in a police station in the custody. And I have to say, most people from then on carry on. If they get that scary time. So the training takes care of how difficult it can be, because most of us haven't been in a custody suite before.
And Neil, in terms of the time commitment, how many hours do you give each week?
Well, there are several people on the rotas for each of the 5 custody suites throughout Sussex. And I would expect to do a visit once a month, maybe twice a month. But that's not all of it. You then have, a visit would take about an hour and a half. And then there's a report to write up after that. Each visit is reported on, and that goes to a central agency, our scheme coordinator. And then there's the training as well. So it's a commitment. It's not an overpowering commitment, but one that volunteers are very willing and committed to put into this scheme.
And of course, there's no time constraints on when people are taken into custody. It could be in the middle of the night. Do you get called out then?
We don't get called out. We arrange our visit with our partner, but they are all unannounced. But yes, I have been in the middle of the night to see how custody is working. So we will visit everybody that's in custody. So we will go, we don't actually go into the cell. We are just outside the cell and ask people about their rights and entitlements. But we can go anytime, literally night or day, always unexpected.
Let's talk more.
Visits have occurred on Christmas Day as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. And because of that commitment and what you do, you've been nominated for the King's Voluntary Award. Just a little bit more about that and what that award is and how it felt to get that recognition.
Oh, I think we're both very proud, aren't we?
Well, very proud. I would stress that we've been nominated. We haven't been awarded for the award yet. But the King's Award for Voluntary Service is an award which recognises volunteering and the commitment to volunteering of the volunteers as well as the organisation itself. It's the equivalent of an MBE, but for an organisation as opposed to the individuals within the organisation.
And in terms of, obviously, like all volunteers, there's always room for more. If people are interested hearing you in what you do, how do people find out more? We are supervised by the Police and Crime Commissioner, and I'm sure if one goes on to the website, there will be links to the scheme. We have a very efficient and delightful scheme manager, Claire Taylor, who ensures that all applications are dealt with, and there's a considerable amount of vetting. You would of course appreciate that, a huge amount of vetting which takes place before we get into the interview process. So there is a process, but the link is from the PCC website. Well, congratulations to both of you on this astonishing recognition and that nomination. Huge achievement and amazing what they do. That was Neil Hart and Susan Middleton talking about being custody volunteers. In the next